Hello everyone, this is MMA Interesting Prospects
Prospects
podcast.
podcast. Today our guest is Nathan Ghareeb, the CES lightweight champion. Hello Nathan, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yes, I'm fine, thanks. And you have the fight in the next few days. Your opponent is Damian Nelson. And tell me how your preparation goes. Where are you currently trained, and what you know about your opponent?
So the last 3 months I was actually down in South Florida training at American Top Team in Coconut Creek, Florida. I had just moved there in December to begin training and seeing if it was a place that I wanted to be. So I was living with my manager there for 3 months, and the place is amazing. I mean, I was training with some of the best guys and women in the world. Olympians, world champions, UFC, PFL, Bellator one fighters, just kind of like mind blowing for me, but ultimately a great experience. And I intend on moving back there in probably May. But as of now, like a week ago, I got home. I wanted to come home and finish my camp here. None of the coaches were able to come with me for this fight because I think the UFC London's the same night. So there's going to be a lot of coaches kind of like going all over the place. I know there's like Bellator cards and everything. So it just made sense for me to use the same team that I've been using. So I came home and I'm training at Ascension, and I've been training with my good friend Eddie George. We kind of been everywhere since I've been back. I was in Boston last week and then New Jersey for the next 2 days. So I mean, right now I'm currently training like all over the place in like the Northeast, but I've trained mainly before this camp. I was training at Ascension with Jeff Haddad in Connecticut and with Joe Lozon. So I kind of trained with some of those similar guys, kind of about like an hour one way and then 2 hours the other way. So just to keep moving, keep my body, keep the weight coming down, and yeah. So right now I'm in Massachusetts.
Okay, so ATT is top gym, probably number one. So probably you have a chance to train with spar with the best fighters in the world currently,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was fortunate to get like certain rounds with like Marlon Moraes and like Hanato Moicano. I did a lot of grappling at ATT. So I was training with guys like Grant Dawson and Chris Duncan, who's also getting ready for the same night. He's fighting in UFC London. And just like everybody there is high level. Even there are like amateurs there that are people that come from like a high level wrestling background or Olympic judo background, or everybody there is good. There's no easy rounds. There's no they basically during COVID closed the gym to like hobbyists. So it's all professionals or like up and coming amateurs that are like prospect amateurs. So I mean, no matter what you're doing, whether it's striking or grappling or anything, it's you're training with like high level people and getting exposure to people from all over the world. A lot of my training partners were Dagestanis, and Russians and Polish and Brazilians. So I mean, I've been getting a very diverse look in different styles and different experience levels. So it's like it's been a great experience for me, and seeing how other people train and seeing how the best in the world train and how they carry themselves and their approach to the game. Alongside obviously the high level coaches, you got high level Brazilian coaches, high level American and Russian coaches. So it's like just learning from them and seeing how they run a practice and being exposed to like that intensity every day. One thing that I've said before was that it started to get to a point where it felt like I was bringing the energy all the time for the last few years to all my training sessions, because for the most part I was like the one pro in my particular area, and the one pro that's really trying to like go above and beyond just being a regional champion or saying I was a pro fighter. Like I really want to be a high level fighter. I really want to be a real world champion, a real like top notch guy. So for me to be in a room with people like this who basically everybody brings that energy because it's their job, it's their profession. So you're not the only person with a bunch of hobbyists or people who are just kind of dabbling that you're like you bring all the energy. Eventually that energy, like, you can only bring so much to the table, but when everybody every single day showing up with the intention to be the best in the world, it's like I talk about, like, the ladders on the rung. It's like you just keep going up the rungs on the ladder and just keep climbing it. And I definitely feel like I achieved that going down there and immersing myself in that culture for 3 months. It wasn't like I went down there for like 2 weeks and got beat up. It was like I could feel the progression over the course of the months that I was there, and the weeks. Like, every week was just getting a little better, and then by the third month, it's like you can feel like, oh wow, like. And then I come home and I train with people here, and I can, working on different things there, and I can come here and like work those things on people that aren't necessarily exposed to those things. So, um, I mean, I definitely think it was the best move I could have made, and I feel great right now. So, like, overall, like, my weight is way lower than it normally is. I feel really strong. I'm healthy, and I'm focused. I'm hungry. I see what everybody's been putting on the table, and like what everyone else is preparing for, and it's like that's where I want to be. I want to be in the UFC, and I want to be one of the best in the UFC. So to be surrounded by a lot of those people is like it's everything I could have imagined. So.
Yes, and this is how you improve your skills, training with the best. Even if someone is better than you, it's good for you because you can learn. And then when you are back in your original gym, you can also show some new techniques, new looks. So I think that it's good for the fighters to go to the bigger gyms.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100% agree. I know there was a lot of there were some people who had said there was like some worry about going to the big gym, worry of not getting attention. And I mean, I didn't necessarily have that problem. I mean, obviously when you first get there, it's like, are you going to be, a lot of people come in and out of the gym, there are people who may train there for, like I said, for a couple weeks and then go home. And like, for me to be there almost every day, for 3 months, it really allows me to kind of like show my face and be in the gym and, show that I'm like dedicated to what I'm doing. Like, I'm not just another guy that's just here to just take advantage of a couple sparring sessions. And, I really did come here to be the nail. I for the last few years, as well as I started to get, start climbing the ladder and getting better, it's like I felt like I started to become the hammer. And I needed that resistance, and for certainly for the first 2 months, it felt like that, the lowest man on the totem pole, getting beat up every day, and learning to overcome that and learning to like face a lot of different like adversity, whether it be in the grappling area or the sparring sessions. And when you face that type of adversity against those caliber of people, you realize like what you need to work on, but you also realize what you're made of and what you bring to the table and like where you're successful. So I 100% agree with what you're saying. I definitely felt it's just been a great experience for me overall. So I feel good going to this fight.
And please tell me about your last fight. It was for the lightweight championship, and I believe that initially it wasn't. It wasn't supposed to be, right?
Yeah. So my buddy Eddie was supposed to fight Angel Alvarez. He'd had like 3 or 4 other opponents, and then this guy, they got him on like a week and a half's notice, I think. And so the guy showed up 8 pounds overweight. And Eddie had cut all the weight. The guy said he would make a certain weight. Guy couldn't make the weight, the initial weight, and then he couldn't make the agreed weight to like whatever the extra 5 pounds they gave him. He ended up coming over like 8 pounds over. So he decided that he didn't think it made sense, and I 100% agree. It's like this guy was huge, but he, it didn't even really look like he had tried. So we I'd spoken with them. I had just come off a loss for the 145-pound belt, which I don't agree. I don't think I lost that fight. I mean, I could say this till my face is black and blue, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, at the end of the day, they gave him the nod. So I felt like it was an opportunity for me to, I said to them, it was like me and Castillo had made weight for 150 as a catch weight. So we made the 155-pound weight. And so I had said that to them after Eddie had decided that they didn't want to fight. I spoke with him. I had asked him if it was, okay with him if I stepped up to take that fight. Most people weren't stepping up to take the fight with him. I was having a hard time getting opponents before as well. So I was like, hey, like, we're here. We made weight, and I'm ready to fight. I'll fight the 5 rounds for the belt. And so it was just an opportunity to kind of like presented itself, and I think it was the right time that it did. Obviously, a lot of people don't believe that Castillo deserved to fight for that belt, but at the end of the day, nobody else was stepping up to fight for it. I'm here, and I'm going to fight whoever I need to get to the next level. So, I mean, I thought the fight went really well. I think if you look at my fight with Dan Dubuque and then you look at the fight with Castillo, like I made all the adjustments in like a month and a half's time that I needed to make. I had made some adjustments leading into the Dubuque fight that I probably shouldn't have, but I had tested positive for COVID the week of going into the fight, and I wasn't exactly sure how my cardio was going to hold up, and because it's like it wasn't a 3-round fight anymore. It's 5 rounds, and with a guy that we knew was durable and like had the ability to go 5 rounds. So after looking at that fight and seeing certain things that I was doing that I know I could have done a little bit better, or things I might not have done, like changing my stance and, switching my stance a little bit better. I think the fight with Castillo really showed like a lot of my full potential. And I think I was just breaking the surface with that, because I think it was an opportunity for me to show my entire skill set. I showed that I can strike, grapple, and I can submit people if I have to. I displayed, cage control, clinching, knees, elbows, kicks, punches, and a variety of takedowns. So, I know I'm a complete mixed martial artist, and throughout majority of my career as a pro, a lot of people think I'm just a striker. But that's certainly not the case. And I think that I was able to display some high level techniques that most people aren't using or displaying, especially on the regional scene. So I think it was a great fight for me to kind of showcase my skill set. So,
and I think that it was a good test, because he was almost like 30 fights in his career. He was tough. He actually fought against some really good opponents, and it was your first submission in professional MMA. So and it's slow F stretch, so it's not the usually one like guillotine or rear naked. So I think that it was great as the first submission.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that you can see that and you like understand that, because I feel like people like, like the belt's one thing. For me, it was more of like a cherry on top. Like for me, at the end of the day, it's for me to get in there and show like that I'm capable of doing a variety of things. Like the belt is cool, but at the end of the day, it's like for someone like you to be able to see this and then say that, it's like that's important to me, because that was the biggest thing. It's like I just like a lot of people were kind of like bashing the fact that the fight, it shouldn't have been a title fight and everything, but it's like, but did anybody see what I did to the guy? There's nothing to do with the belt. Did anybody see what I was able to do in the fight? And so, and again, like you said, like that submission is not a common one. It's not like you said, it's not a rear naked choke. I didn't jump on the back and, choke the guy out. It's like I folded the guy in half and like pulled his leg to his face, and like, it's like what it's not a common thing. So yeah, I mean, I think overall for me, the fight was great, and I was able to kind of like get a variety of things going there, which is what I wanted to be able to do. I didn't want it to just be like a kickboxing fight. I wanted to be like everything, because this is MMA, and so I'm trying to develop all my skills. I'm not just trying to be a one-trick pony. Like I want to be able to systemize and show that I am not just a guy that's going to come in here looking to take your head off, but I'm also not a guy that's looking to come in here and just hold you down. Like I'm trying to finish you. I'm trying to be as elite as I can possibly be. So yeah, I appreciate that.
And about your featherweight title fight, I agree that you should want this. It was some rounds were close, but in the end of the day, I think that you won at least 3 rounds, and you should be a featherweight champion. And do you plan to have a rematch with Dubuque?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to fight him again. I think that, if I show up, especially the way that I did for the Castillo fight, I don't see the fight even being as close as it was the last time. I just think I know, unfortunately, he had some family issues that had come up, and I believe that's why he can't fight now, because I think that was like the original goal. Like we had been asking for that fight. They're like, he's not ready to fight. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to keep fighting then. So we fought Castillo, and then now this opportunity came for Damian. And the goal for this is this to be my last fight on the regional scene. I know there's some I know the contender series is coming up. That's really like what I'm shooting for. For whatever reason that doesn't happen, and Dan's ready to fight again, then I'll certainly look to take that fight again and fight him, because like I said, the fight leaves a bad taste in my mouth. That's not really how that's not really where I want to be. Like in my mind, I still see myself as 8-1 right now, like whatever because I went through the 5 rounds, with COVID, and was able to show like I have cardio. I have a guy that's in my face for 5 rounds and not gonna, not just gonna go away. I hit him with a lot of, mean techniques, and the guy just like ate it. And, like I said, I made a lot of adjustments from that fight. So hopefully, we're not even have to worry about that. If I can get in there and do what I know am capable of doing and putting Damian away, I mean, there's no question. I would be shocked if they said, now we're not interested. Like I have 6 finishes already in my pro career, 5 by, TK or knockout, and 1 by submission. And to put I think to finish this kid would be just to put the stamp on it. And I can't imagine that they would say, no, we're not interested at this point, to be, 8-2. And, they'll look for guys like me. Like I'm not coming in here to, like I said, hold on to guys and like just swing for the fences. Like I'm calculating everything that I'm doing in there, and there's a rhyme and reason for everything that I do. And, before, during the Dan Dubuque fight, even the Castillo fight, like partially, I was training with like a small group of people in like a basement. I wasn't training with, I didn't have these high level training partners. I had a couple of guys I was training with, like Connor Matthews out in Boston, and some of the cartel guys like here and there. But I wasn't training with, like multiples of, the best in the world. I'm training with a couple guys that are on their way up as well. And so now to have that experience, like I said, and to go through the last 2 fights, to take a loss the way I did, and then to come back and win, like I know what I'm capable of. And then to go through 3 months of just brutal training. I mean, I know that I know where I belong. I know I belong there, and I feel ready for it. I'm starting to see the visuals. Like I'm starting to really like understand like where I belong in this sport. And I know that I have obviously always have work to do, but I truly believe that my time is here, and I'm ready to do what I have to do to win. So, like I said, hopefully it's the next step is the Contender Series, and that's where I'm headed. So that's where I believe I'm going. So
yes, I think that you would be a perfect fit for the Contender Series. And would you be interested in going to Bellator, to being back in the Bellator, or go to PFL, or rather you are planning to wait for the either Contender Series or straight to the UFC?
So I guess like my big thing is like my goal has always been to be in the UFC, and I just there's been like after the Cody Law fight, there was like talks of like going back to Bellator. I really wanted to go back. I liked what they were doing. They paid pretty decently, and they were all really nice to me, and like it was a well-run promotion. But talking with my team, talking with my management, talking with my wife, and one of my close friends, they were like, well, you could always shoot lower for like what you want originally, or you can actually go for what you want, and if it doesn't work out, you can always go to these other places. For me, it's my mindset is like my mind is fixed on being in the UFC. And as I've gotten older too, like the other thing is like I'm 29 now, so for me it's like if they're not interested this year, I wouldn't mind, fighting for like a PFL or a Bellator, because I need to get paid now. Like I've been doing this for 8.5 years, and I have sacrificed a lot of time, a lot of paychecks to do this. And I truly want to get paid for what like my value is. Like I bring entertainment every single time, I pack every place I go to. People want to see me fight. When they see my name on a card, they're like, there's going to be a fight. They know it's not going to be, like I said, this boring, drawn out fight where the guy's just holding on and like, or just like, not technical, like I'm in there with the intention to hurt my opponents and put on a show, like I truly believe that I'm one of the most entertaining fighters, that especially in the Northeast, like, and I bring a fight every single time. So I want to get paid for what I'm doing. I'm sick of getting paid like little bits, a little bit of money, like getting nickel and dimed for, what I sacrificed. Like I even fucking went out there and almost lost a toe, and you know what I mean? I get paid like what? Like I don't even remember what I got paid, but it wasn't a lot, not, like not necessarily like you're not getting paid UFC money, Bellator money, whatever, I don't know, that's a discussion with the UFC always is about if UFC fighters get paid enough, but I'll tell you, like making 12 and 12 is better than making like, 8 and 8, $800 and $800 is better than, making 12,000 and 12,000. Like I'd much rather that than, because I'm going to be fighting tough guys anyway. I'm going to have to fight tough guys, and I want to fight tough guys. I want to fight the best in the world. I want to prove that I'm one of the best in the world. And so, the UFC is the goal. If it doesn't work out, then, we'll look for a promotion like a Bellator or a PFL, most likely PFL, because, chance at $1 million is, I like that. I like that for me, so I just don't like that they don't throw elbows. I like to throw elbows, and I hear PFL, they don't let you throw elbows. So that's my only concern. But other than that, yeah, the goal is to stay focused on the path ahead and to get to the UFC. And then, like I said, see what happens, always ready for whatever. If who's ever paying the most we'll take it. So.
And do you plan to be in 145 or lightweight division?
45. Yeah, 145. So when I fight back to back, I don't necessarily like to cut, too, like with the Dan Dubuque fight, I made 145 pretty easily. It wasn't like too hard, but I didn't want to come back and be like, all right, let's make 145 again. Like if I like when I'm being consistent, I'd like to do 1 or 2 at 145 and then 1 at 155 or 150 just as a catch weight. After being at ATT, most of my training partners were 155ers, especially for grappling. And these dudes are monsters. I mean, like, it wasn't like I wasn't like getting like physically dominated or anything like that. But some of these dudes, like when I look at them from like, me and Chris Duncan had taken a photo together, and I thought he was like the same size as me. I was like, oh, he's not that big. But when you see the photo of him next to me, we're completely different human beings. I mean, this dude's huge. He's like, shoulders are like way bigger than mine. He's way taller than me. And like, I was holding the pad for him for the kick shield, and it's like, Jesus Christ, if this dude kicks you in the arm, like with a full kick like that, it's like your arm's gonna break. I mean, this dude's a monster. So it's like after seeing that, it's like, yeah, I think 45 is good for me. Like, I think my mind, I think I'm bigger than I am, or these guys aren't as big as they really are, and you see them, like, Jesus, it's like, I think I'll stay at 145. I mean, if they were like, oh yeah, we have a fight at 155 in the UFC and we need, someone, and then it's like, fuck it, I'll do it, because I'm always down to fight. It's not the end. It's not a big deal. Like if an opportunity comes, I'm like, hey, I'll take it. But I think 145 is where I belong. I can make 145. I think I'm a pretty decent size 145 or two. I'm not like a really small guy. Like I'm like only 5'8", but I'm thick. Like my back and my neck are like really like I just built like a barrel. So it just does. It makes sense for me to be at 145 for now.
And if you can fight with any fighter in the world, like dream fight, who would you choose to fight?
So there's a lot of guys that I'd love to fight. But I think honestly, somebody like a Paddy Pimblett would be really cool, and I'd like to fight him at 155, and I'd love to fight him in London. I just would love to be in the arena, like with all of his crowd, like screaming and chanting, and he's an entertaining fighter. Like someone like him, someone like Sean O'Malley, someone even like an Alexander Volkanovski at some point. I'd love to fight him. And I just like the idea of fighting somebody with like a big name and brings a lot of hype and proving what I can do against these people. I just think that for me the pressure isn't like like I know a lot of people get kind of shell shocked, but like I wouldn't mind going into enemy territory with everybody screaming and getting wild, and then like me getting wild as well, because it's like you guys can get wild, but like I know I love to. I'm always down for like a good fight. I'm always down to like for a competitive fight, and you know I'm always down to entertain. So I know the crowd wants to be entertained, and I'll certainly give that to them. Like I'm not afraid of that type of challenge. I'm ready for it. So those guys like that would be the type of person that I want to fight. I'd love to fight Sean O'Malley. Honestly, I think our styles match up pretty well, and I think it would be a really interesting fight. So.
Yes, also Paddy fight with Paddy in London.
Yeah.
It would be good because the fans always in England are so rooting for their fighters. So you would be in the enemy territory.
Yeah, exactly. I just think it would be a cool experience. You know, I want to hear the crowd roaring. So gets me fired up.
And do you have a style that you like to fight? And do you think that there is a style that you have a problem with? Because in your pro career you have 2 losses, but let's say that you have a one with Cody Law, and he is a tough wrestler. So do you think that it was the toughest test and toughest style for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the time it was. I think it was more of a learning lesson in a variety of ways. At that time, I was training at a different gym in Springfield, and when I leading up to that fight, a lot of people had said that there was like my teammates and the people I was surrounded. Oh, he's gonna take you down. He's gonna take you down. So let's just prepare for the worst. Like he's on top of you in the worst positions, and like that's all we trained. Had we trained more wrestling, had we trained more wrestling defense, like stop him before, I think I would have been able to stop him because my takedown defense is actually pretty good. And I think like the guys like before, like I said, before ATT, I think it was like one of those things where I found that definitely the grappling, you know, like the high level wrestling, you know, like I said, I work with a lot of Dagestanis, very good wrestling, and you know, the first month, a lot of like working to get like even just working out to get like suffocated by these guys, and then eventually it's like learning. I'm starting to get back to my feet. Oh, I'm starting to stop the takedown. So it's like I think now I feel more confident like wherever the fight goes. I think for sure wrestling was one of the big ones where it was like like I mean I came up from a wrestling background. And I think it's just more of like the practice because after the Cody Law fight, I left the gym I was at and we only practiced get ups like for a full year, which just I just said forget jiu-jitsu. Like I'm just want to get back to my feet. Like let's stop it before we even get there. Like stop the takedown or get back from the feet, get to the wall and get back up. So I feel like I tied up a lot of loose ends that I had in that scenario and knowing like where I was struggling and what I needed to work on. And so I poured a lot of my time and resources into that. And then now, you know, fast forward like 2 years, I guess it's like I'm doing the same thing where now I'm exposed to all these different types of high level wrestlers and grapplers, and so now it's like I have work to do certainly, but I'm definitely finding better ways to achieve a better position and not getting outscored on the ground or being held down, you know. So it's kind of hard to say right now, but that was mostly what we had worked on throughout the last 3 months was like really just trying not to let somebody just hold on to you and like keep you down. And you know, I think definitely grappling would have been my weaker area, but I'm starting to really I'm starting to piece together. I'm starting to see, okay, like this is how things are. Cause like with striking for me, it's like I don't know. I just feel like I'm made for striking. You know, I understand striking, I think better than a lot of people do, and it's an area where I don't know. I can't say that I've really ever had many situations where I just getting beat up on the feet. You know, where I'm like, oh man, like I'm just getting outclassed by this guy. Like I don't know what to do. Like I always know what to do on the feet, and I think on the ground, it's like there's a lot of areas where there's a lot of like moving parts on the ground. It's just a little bit different than striking, but I'm starting to see like similar concepts that like apply, and I think I'm starting to grow in that way. And I can imagine in the next couple of years, especially being down at ATT, it's going to allow me to really excel on the ground. And so I think I don't, like I said, I don't have too many areas these days where I'm like, oh man, if it gets here, I'm in a lot of trouble. It's like wherever the fight goes, it goes, and I'm prepared for it. So, you know, I don't really like I don't want to say like I don't like get away from, like, there's not a position, there's not an area where I'll like avoid. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like, I know if it sucks and it's uncomfortable and I hate it, I'm like, all right, well, I'm going with that guy because he's the best at it. So I want to get good at it. Because if I'm with this dude, who, it doesn't matter who it is. Like, if I'm with this guy, like Kanato Moicano is a good example. Like, I don't always train with him because he wasn't always there. I think he does a lot of privates with his coaches. But if I'm training with a guy like that, I know he's got a really good back control. So if I need to work on my back control, like I need rounds like that, like I'm gonna be like, hey, can I go with you? And he's gonna get my back, whether I give it to him or I don't. Like, he's gonna get my back. You know, he's just that good at it. And so it's like working on how to defend that and get into position and trying to escape it. So that's just an example of like the kind of training that I like to do. Is just, if I'm bad at something and I know I need to work on it, like I'm gonna work on that thing until it's I can just do it in my sleep and it's not a problem. So yeah, as of now, I'm not exactly sure like what that area would be. And you know, like when I go back, you know, I'm sure I'll find out more things I need to work on in different ways. But for now, I think at the one point it was more grappling was my issue, but not really having too many issues currently. So.
Yes, and the fight with Cody was 2 years ago and 7 fights ago. So I think that it would look like differently if you meet right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're training partners now. He was actually a big help in getting me into ATT. And yeah, I've gotten to train with him a little bit, and like we've definitely both gotten better in both our areas. You know, I definitely have gotten better. Like I could get back up if he got on top of me, but he can also strike a lot better than I felt like he could at then. So you know, it's just cool to see the progression that we both have, and then to be in the same room together, like working together and even drilling together. We drill together, and so you know, like he'd shared ideas with me on the ground. I shared some striking stuff with him, and you know, I definitely think that I do think the fight would have gone differently if we fight now. And but I think overall it's like he's a great training partner to have, and he's been a really good person, but it definitely helped me in my development as a fighter. You know, that fight, I needed that fight, and I'm glad that I took that fight when I did, because you know, he's a great test, you know, high level wrestler, and comes from a great gym, and so.
And outside of fighting, what do you like to do in your free time? Let's say that it's after the fight, you can't really train. What do you like to do?
I like to eat. It's my big thing. I do a lot of eating. So me and my wife, we tend to go and do like little traveling out, like to different parts of New England or wherever. It depends on like how much money we have or whatever. We like to go different places and explore different new areas and see what's around. We like to check out different restaurants and like go to, you know, different cities, check out like bakeries, restaurants, and I do read quite a bit, and watch some, like a lot of different videos, like educational videos. I love watching fights and breaking down fights and doing film study, and then just like hanging with like good friends, like training partners mainly these days, and just like talking about life and talking about concepts and philosophy and different, you know, what's like the newest show, and like breaking down the ins and outs of that. And you know, I live a pretty basic life for the most part. I but my life is pretty like well entwined with this stuff, where it's like it's hard for me to not be in the gym. Usually take like a week off from after the fight. So I fight and then I take a week off, let my body and what's it called? Like my brain just relax and like let it heal, and then get back to training. And you know, so I'm always studying something, always working on the next thing. And I mean, yeah, I don't really. I mean, I like to play like Call of Duty too. Like I'll play some video games, like when the new Call of Duties come out, or you know, Doom. Like I'll sit there and I'll like go through like a couple months of just like playing through those games. But yeah, I can't think that there's really much else that I tend to do. I would say eating is number one, just eating all the good food. But
And how do you deal with stress? Let's say that it's a few hours to your fight, and what you do to go outside of this stressful situation?
So I've actually part of like that reading a lot of I read a lot on neuroscience and neurology. I actually got a degree in criminology and sociology. So I put a lot of time in understanding like psychology in the mind, and I also worked with a mental toughness coach for like 4 or 5 years. I still speak with him. So just like learning the triggers and learning the cues, and then, like what kind of like leads you there, and like how you can keep yourself from getting getting kind of like mind fucked by yourself. I think it's like realizing like if you can control your internal, then like everything external doesn't really matter. And I think fortunately for the last, like fortunately, unfortunately, like the last few fights, there's always been something that has come up. And so it's like being able to deal with it, like them telling you you're going to fight this time, and then you end up fighting earlier, or fighting then end up fighting later, or, like the COVID thing, or there was an issue with when I fought Tom Pagliarulo. My head coach was like, he couldn't get in because he didn't, the COVID test at the time didn't come back. So there was like, there's like always been a bunch of stuff. So like really it's just learning to ride the wave. Personally, it's like, I've done this. It's going to be, between my amateur and my pro career, it's going to be my 21st fight in a cage. You know what I mean? Like this is not anything new. And I think that for me, like dealing with stress is a part of my everyday life. Like every day there's like a little bit of stress, and it's just realizing that like you can't hold on to these things. Like I think it was like a saying, like let the leaves like on a stream. You just gotta let them, like they're gonna come by, just let them come in and then just let them go out. Like if you hold on to it, then it's like it's not going anywhere. If you try to fight it, it's gonna make it worse. So you just have to like accept it for what it is, and then just like let it just flow down the river. And that's just kind of the mindset that I take with these things. I think too many people, number one, they look at fighting and they're like, so a lot of people, especially for this fight, they'd be like, this is the biggest fight of my career. This is the biggest fight ever. I get in the UFC, oh, this is the biggest fight of your career. It's like, at the end of the day, it's just a fight. It's no different than the last few fights. It's no different if I was in the UFC or if I was in Bellator or whatever. It's just a fight. At the end of the day, it's you and another guy, and you just have to hit a series of targets more than that guy has to hit your series of targets. And if you train properly and you focus on the right concepts and the right ideas, and like I study, it's like I'm not like just some ape that's going in there to looking to bang it out. Like my whole perspective is based around like knowledge and being smarter than everybody else, not being tougher, stronger, faster, any of that stuff. If I happen to be one of those, like my attributes happen to take over in that sense, it's like great, right? But I want to know more than you. I want to know more about you than you know about me, because if I know more about you than you know about me, and I know more about you than you know about you, then I'm going to lead you places that you don't even know. And that's all I think gets a lot of these guys is a lot of the things that I'm doing are like systemized. And if anybody could watch me drill for the last, like, for the fight camp and then see what I'm doing in fights, it's like, it's all in the drilling. It's all in the perspective. And I think like over the years, I've validated that like I'm kind of built for this. So it's not a question. Like I don't think I've ever had an opponent that's ever walked out of the cage and not been hurt or fucked up in some way, shape, or form. Win or lose, you're getting fucked up. You know what I mean? So it's like that's the thing that they have to worry about. Like I'm not locked in there with you. You're locked in there with me. And I understand that. I'm not afraid of what you're going to do to me, because I know what I need to do to you. I think it was when Conor McGregor fought Khabib, it was like, even his coach was like, we trained too much to defend and not to attack him. We trained too much to be defensive against this guy instead of going after him. And that was the same thing that happened with me against Cody Law. It's like the whole mindset for that camp was, oh, he's going to get you down. He's going to do this. It's like, well, why don't we go after him? Like no one's gone after him yet. Let's go after him. Like, let's make it a fight. Let's make him feel like this isn't going to be good for you. And I think that too many people get caught up in their own hype, and they let their egos, affect them too much. And you can't let that happen. You really have to just stay grounded, be real, like be logical, because your emotions are going to tell you a bunch of shit. Like thoughts are not facts. Just because you think something doesn't mean it's true. You have to be like as logical and rational as you can be, and then like really not let your emotions dictate how you're going to react. And so I think like dealing with that stress comes from a lot of like understanding psychology and the mind and like sociology and how people work and, like in your environment too. Like I have very, very, not very, I have, constructed the group of people that I surround myself with. Even going to ATT, the ones that ended up surrounding myself with, like, I'm not going to surround myself with people that don't make me feel, like to make me feel bad about myself or like bring down the energy. Not that there's like people like that at the gym, but for me, with the last few years with the guys that I did choose to continue to work with, were people that helped elevate and make like be on the same frequency. Your environment matters. So, like we might not have had the best training partners around, like the greatest, like, the toughest guys, but what we had were people that like always were trying to get better, always trying to improve, and like people that were also very, very like immersed in this understanding and like learning, and that's what we call ourselves, like the nerds. Like we were like vicious killer nerds because we wanted to know more than the other guy did. And so I think your environment is also a key thing. Like if you got people around you being like, you're just like speaking negatively, talking bad about people, talking bad about you, it's like it's not good. It's not good for your mind. It's not good for your subconscious. Like you want to fuel your mind with and surround yourself with individuals that are gonna help to elevate you and elevate the room. You don't want to be around people that are just going to be, constantly in like a negative state and, just down all the time. Like you want to be around people that are going to be like neutral or positive, just have a neutral mindset or like a positive mindset. They don't have to be positive all the time, but just not like the world's ending and we're all like everything's falling apart. It's like, hey, this is life. You just ride the wave. That's what it is. Like it's nothing's going to be perfect. I guarantee you I'm going to have a lot of fights like that. A bunch of shit's going to come up. It is what it is. We just ride the wave. We do what we do. We show up. We put a beating on a man. We go eat a cheeseburger and have a beer, and we enjoy the night. And that's just the way I see it. Like I signed up for this because I wanted a life that was just not normal. I just don't fit that. I don't want to go work a 9 to 5 and do what most people want to do. Like at the end of my life, I want to be able to say I did things, I experienced things, and like I had I know I keep going on about it, but I had a dream last night about this, like with the gravestone, and I thought about it. I was like, man, like at the end of your life, you're gonna die. That's just a fact. There's nothing we can do about it, and it's one thing that used to scare me to fucking death. But what I realize is that if I have no choice and I am going to die, how do I want to live? Like, how do I want to make the time count for me? How do I want to live my life? And it's like, yeah, like fighting is scary. It's not scary, like it's definitely like there's definitely fears like, oh, I don't want to lose, like I don't want this, I don't want that. It's like, yeah, it's true, I don't, but at the end of my life, I would much rather look back and be like, hey, at least I did it, as opposed to looking back and being like, 85 and be like, man, I could have been this, I could have. That's the worst. And there's nothing you can't rewind time. So it's like, while I'm here, I'm healthy, I'm strong, and I have the time, like I'm willing, it's just I'm willing to experience that pain and suffering for the better life for myself, and to at least say that I was here and I did what I chose to do. Like I did it my way, not the way somebody told me I had to.
There was a lot of information in your speech right now, but I agree that the mindset with no regrets, it's a very good thing, that if you have an opportunity, you should take it, because even your Bellator fight, right, you lost, but nothing really happened. You won many fights later, and you still top prospect in the world. You can go to the UFC, you can go to any big promotion, and it's always experience that you can use in the future. So I think that when the opportunity shows you, you need to take it, and it's a very good mindset.
Thank you.
And what would be the perfect scenario for you in next few months?
Well, the best thing that can happen, this weekend is going in there, do what I do best, put Damien away, and then, get a contract going here. Like, let me know, like, are we going to do this or what? And, what'll happen is, my wife and I will find a place to live down in Florida. We'll relocate and we'll start training camp for the Contender Series for the summer. So that's really like that's really like the next focus after this is, get through this week and win. And then the next month we'll be trying to find, a new place for us to live, like an apartment or something, where we can start, paying rent to, and then getting right back to training at ATT. And my manager's hopefully in discussion with the people who work the Contender Series, and they want to sign me and get me a fight, and hopefully they book me someone, and we move on to the next one. If not, like, it's all right. We'll just keep going. The next fight card that comes up, they got a guy that needs a fight. I'm your man. I'll be there, whether it's next month, the month after. Like, I'd love to fight a couple more times. I'm not opposed to fighting. I just like to fight. I love to get the experience. I like I said, ideally it'd be get to the UFC, and get to the Contender Series, and then get a contract from them. But if we got to keep fighting, we just keep fighting.
So Nathan, good luck on your fight. I hope that you will win, finish your opponent, and then go either to the Contender Series or straight to the UFC. And in a few months, you will have your debut in the UFC.
Yeah.
So
thank you so much.
Good luck and thanks for the conversation.
Yeah, thank you for your time, man. I really appreciate you reaching out.
Okay, thanks.